Fani Willis, another one of my city girls that is out here in the streets. So yesterday, we had the privilege of being able to live stream and kind of react to what was going on with Nathan Wade when he was on the stand. And Nathan Wade largely was reserved. I mean, he was getting grilled. He was getting caught up, in my opinion. But he was pretty reserved. Pretty reserved on his relationship with Fani Willis. He even went so far as to say, listen, she basically was paying half in cash on everything was happening. Now, when we went over to After Hours last night and we was talking on After Hours, and I reviewed and I showed y'all some of the stuff that she was talking about, she is a sassy one. I mean, this woman exhibits a level of sassy and attitude that I have never seen before in a woman. And now I'm starting to understand why women that tend to be older get more stuck in their ways, and they tend to be the ones that die along with a cat. And no matter how old or not how awesome she gets, 53 years old plus, has one of the top positions from a prosecutor's perspective or from a lawyer's perspective, all of the visibility, and got a sassy attitude. And when I say a sassy attitude, I mean a sassy attitude. Leslie Aaron says Fani is set to be on the stand today. No, as far as I know, she is not supposed to be on the stand today. Otherwise, I would have pushed out the interview and then I would have been streaming it. But they're just questioning other people around her as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know. I'll keep my ear to the street to pay attention to what was going on. But as far as I know, she is not set to take the stand today. She was only set to take the stand yesterday. I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. Shout out to Classy Beats. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. But let me bring this up real quick, right? Let me show y'all what was happening. Give y'all a little bit of an insight into what was going on yesterday with Fani Willis.
I'm not as versed as him. He's been to 6 of the 7 continents. And so he has both a personal travel agent and he also has a cruise travel agent. I don't know anything about either of those kind of travel agents. So he is the one that would book the travel. But we need to be clear when we're talking about just because he booked it doesn't mean, like, I don't consider him having taken me anyplace. Let me just be honest. The only one that's ever taken somebody someplace is for his 50th birthday. I consider that I took him to Belize. And I took him to Belize because, I don't want to discuss his personal business, but I'm happy Mr. Wade is still here with us. And I did 50 big, very big.
So still on that October Royal Caribbean cruise, even though he had a travel agent. I'm sorry?
If you do me a favor, I don't know what cruise ship, what time. So if you'll help me and say October cruise with Mama or the New Year's Eve trip with his.
Tia, you said you want me to show when she first walked in on Tia, and I'll see if I can find the footage. But she's basically breaking down the dynamics of their relationship. And I mean, it was some footage where she was basically saying, and I went over that on After Hours yesterday, where she was like, listen, Nathan Wade basically is the type of man, he told me that all he needs from a woman is the ability for her to be able to make a sandwich. And she said, I am his equal. I am his equal, and ain't no man gonna ever be able to say or do anything for me that my father ain't already done. And she was sassy. I mean sassy. And I ain't never, ever seen a woman that is a public figure like this talk this crazy. She was interrupting. She was shutting it down.
Sisters, we can communicate.
Somebody said it. I think it was Connie. Connie said she gave black women back all of their stereotypes after she was on a stand yesterday. It's better than not even to say nothing.
I just don't know what ship.
October cruise with Mama. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He paid for the cruise and the flights for that trip.
So he called his cruise agent and he booked that through them because he has a cruise agent.
Right.
He also has a regular agent. I don't know the cruise agent's name.
So I wasn't asking about his travel agent. I was just asking if he paid for those.
He did not, though.
Okay.
Because the reason I consider that he did not is I gave him his money back.
And I was about to ask that. But initially, he paid for that.
Yeah, he called his cruise agent. Like, I think they have his card on record. They do whatever.
Okay. So initially, he paid.
He said, yeah, high value man.
paid for the cruise and the flight to Miami and the Royal Caribbean cruise.
And my understanding of that October cruise is like it was a package the lady did for him.
Okay. And I'll get to the reimbursements and all that. I'm just trying to confirm he paid for the flight and the cruise in October.
And I think that when you say things that way, I want this record to be
Initially.
abundantly clear that he calls his travel agent, he calls his cruise agent. They do whatever he tells them. He's like on a first name basis with these people. They do it, and then he tells me how much it is, and I give him the money back. I don't, just like you're asking me about the money with Robin, I don't do my friends like that. So if you tell me it's a G, then you're going to get $1,000. If it, whatever it is, I didn't ever make him produce receipts to me.
Did she say, you tell me it's a G? This is the woman that's literally trying to prosecute Trump. She said, if you tell me it's a G, listen, you can take the, I found the footage too. You can take them out the ghetto, but you cannot take the ghetto out of the person. You can take them out of the ghetto, but you cannot take the ghetto out of the person. Let me pull up this footage of her walking into the courtroom. Give me a second. Did she say, if you tell me it's a G? Jesus Christ. Hold on. I didn't see her walking into the courtroom.
And suddenly, he's changing. She files her financial declarations, same problems. We need a ready here to go over all of this and to explain exactly what happened. So
Did she just throw something on the table? Jesus. Hold the fuck on. I'm sorry. It is Friday, so y'all got to give me some grace. I thought we were still on after hours. Give me some grace.
And suddenly, he's changing. She files her financial declarations, same problems. We need a ready here to go over all of this and to explain exactly what happened. So we would ask the court that the court allow Ms. Willis to be called and interrogated on these matters.
And I would too, Your Honor.
Just a moment, Ms. Willis. So, Ms. Cross, I don't know if you want to speak with Ms. Willis now. It's sounding like maybe they're withdrawing the objection to the motion.
I'm happy to leave the motion to...
Or does Ms. Willis want to take the lead here?
We'll withdraw the motion to quash Ms. Willis.
Based on the... I'm ready to go.
Okay, so the position of the district attorney at this point is that she's no longer contesting the subpoena. Ms. Merchant has called her as the next witness.
I would ask, I need 3 documents in front of me, and they're the 3 filings of Ms. Merchant.
What in the world is going on? Yo, listen. Remember on this last segment where we was having a conversation with Mr. Jason House? Shout out to Jason House. Let me give him a round of applause. He deserves his flowers. Remember on the last segment where I was just giving Jason House his flowers and I said, Mr. House, are you scared of Tiffany? They're all starting to be like this. Lumpy, frumpy, attitude, and sassy. Lumpy, frumpy, attitude, and sassy. They are walking in like bulldogs. How you gonna sit down and start demanding? How you gonna sit down? Look, ladies, look. Y'all sit here and y'all talk about what men ain't gonna deal with because they can't deal with a strong woman. What you want? You want us to come over here and tame this? I'm not wrestling with no grizzly bear. Don't you see me in my city boy era? Don't you see my views? I'm in soft boy life. I'm in my soft guy life. City boy, soft boy life. Ain't nobody trying to be dealing with this chick. Listen, I'm trying to have views and have a good time. What would make a woman this crazy? Bro, do you think for even 1 second that we are supposed to go and tame this? I don't wrestle with grizzly bears. I don't wrestle with grizzly bears. Sister, do you see this? This is crazy.
Does anyone have the 3 filings of Ms. Merchant? Does the court have the 3 filings of Ms. Merchant?
Ma'am, I'm going to need you to be patient. Don't you see that everybody is scared of you right now when they all running around trying to find your 3 filings? Don't you rush me. You just asked me 15 seconds ago.
Say the filings, you mean like the pleadings?
The pleadings, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I think we could locate those for you. I mean, the supplemental.
I want the one filed on January the 8th, the one filed immediately after we filed ours, and the final one.
If you want to take a break to get them, I can make a copy. I think we have one.
You know, the only copy I have is going to have my notes on it. So if we don't have a clean copy,
We have a 5-minute break, Your Honor.
Let's
I'll get
take
the documents.
This lady is insane.
I'm not. I would advise it to all women.
So you can't identify when you came into this cash that you would pay him. You wouldn't get it out of the bank. You got cash to pay for that cruise. You all flew to Aruba and spent a couple days in a hotel there, correct?
Right, and his mother was not happy
He
that we left her
initially
behind.
paid for that. He initially paid for that.
For Aruba, yes, ma'am.
So let's talk about both of those. I know he initially paid for it. Did you pay him back?
For the cruise and for Aruba, yeah, I gave him his money before we ever went on that trip.
You gave him cash before you ever went on the trip? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so when you got cash to pay him back on these trips, would you go to the ATM?
No, lady.
You would not go to the ATM?
No.
Okay.
She said, no lady. Bulldog. You actually kind of need these type of women on this team. Yo, I'm starting to question if Mr. Wade is crazy, or he got to either be crazy or he got to be a genius. Because let me tell you something. You don't jump out of a relationship where in 2015 your chick cheated on you and then you get into a relationship with a bulldog like this. Heck no. His choices in women is insane, bro.
So Fulton County pays you direct deposit, I assume?
Yes, Fulton County and the state of Georgia both pay me direct deposits.
Okay. So the cash that you would pay him, you wouldn't get it out of the bank?
I have money in my house.
You have money in your house. So it was just money that was there.
When you meet my father, he's going to tell you as a woman, you should always have, which I don't have, so let's don't tell him that. You should have at least 6 months in cash at your house at all times. Now, I don't know why this old black man feels like that, but he does. When we were growing up, my daddy had 3 safes in the house. So my father's bought me a lockbox, and I always keep cash in the house.
And I don't believe her. I believe that she's lying out of her teeth. They don't want to actually go into the forensics of how it is that they've been doing their transactions. They trying to act like they've been just doing all cash transactions 100% of the time. And I don't believe it. I don't believe it even for 1 second that she's sitting on 6 months of cash, and that's the way in which she's been giving him his money back as a result of him paying for these trips. I believe they probably got into an argument, and she was like, you know what? I don't even need your stupid money. You sitting there throwing it in my face that you paying for these trips and stuff like that. In reality, I'm your boss. I'm the one that told you that you can have the raises and you can get your billable hours in the first place. I hired you. As a matter of fact, I give you your money back. I don't think even for a minute that his initial payment of this cruise came as a result of the fact that she just wanted to go 50-50 and be equal on the situation. I think that they got into a drag down, knock down argument, and she was like, I give you your little money back, but now they don't want to get themselves in trouble and get themselves disqualified and recused from this case. And so now they acting and pretending like they just got a whole bunch of money sitting in their house. What is you, YSL? You a drug dealer now? Stop it, bro. Stop it.
Now, I don't do it to the degree that my father would do it, so he would probably be ashamed with me, but I always have cash at the house. That has been, I don't know, all my life. If you're a woman and you go on a date with a man, you better have $200 in your pocket, so if that man acts up, you can go where you want to go. So I keep cash in my house. And
who need cash like that? Who needs 6 months worth of cash? Who need 100 bands in their crib?
I don't keep cash as good in my purse like I used to, because I don't go on many dates. But when you go on a date, you should have cash in your pocket.
So my question was, where did that cash originally come from, if it didn't come out of the bank?
Cash is fungible. I've had cash for years in my house. So for me to tell you the source of when it comes from, when you go to Publix and you buy something, you get $50, you throw it in there. It's been my whole life. When I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell you I just have cash in my house. I don't have as much today as I would normally have, but I'm building back up now. So you just put money in. It's a very good practice. I would advise it to all women.
So you can't identify when you came into this cash or where the cash came from?
I didn't say I couldn't identify it. No, nobody gives me anything. I am sure that the source of the money is always the work, sweat, and tears of me. What you asked me for is, when did the money go in there? What I am trying to tell you is, so I got divorced in 2005 from my husband.
I can see why. Somebody get the ex-husband on the stand, because we need to see who this guy is and why he was even putting up with this in the first place.
No. It's important. You said, where did the money come from? And I need to tell you where the money came from. And so for many, many years, I have kept money in my
Shout out to the super chats. I'm going to read those shortly.
House. That money in my worst days has probably only been $500 or $1,000. At my best days, I probably had $15,000 in my house at cash. At all times, there's going to be cash in my house or wherever I'm laying my head.
The money that you paid Mr. Wade, the cash, in October of 2022, you do not know where that money came from.
I do know where it came from. It came from my sweat and tears.
You know which job it came from.
She's talking with a grit on her teeth. I do know where it came from. It came from my sweat and tears.
Did it come from Fulton County or did it come from a private job?
It came from, what are you talking about? So it could have come from a private job, because before I was DA, I was in private practice. So I earned money during that time period that's probably in there.
You don't know
it could have, what do you mean I don't know where it came from? I
understand the situation. We can move on.
Okay, thanks. Same with Aruba. You don't know where that cash came from either, right?
Ma'am, you are mischaracterizing my testimony greatly. I'm not going to allow you to mischaracterize my testimony. I know that I keep money in my house. The amounts of money I gave Mr. Wade, it was never that serious. I don't think I've ever handed him more than $2,500 in a reimbursement. So we're not talking about $20,000 in cash. I don't have $20,000 in cash right now. The most I ever gave him, I know I gave him $2,500 when we went to Belize, because we went to one hotel and then we went to a second hotel. That $2,500 I actually gave him while we were still in Belize. I know that the Aruba trip, the one that you described with his mom, I think I gave him about $2,000 for that trip, for like total.
His mom went to Aruba with you?
The Aruba trip. So I consider that to be one trip. So we got off of a cruise ship and then we went to Aruba, which is why I cannot remember is that the time that we had to stay in Miami to wait for the flight for Aruba. So I consider that one trip, but we didn't like come back to Atlanta and leave. We flew down to Miami. We got on a cruise ship. We spent a couple of days with his mama. We came back to Miami. When we came back to Miami, either that day or the next day, we flew to Aruba. We spent a few days in Aruba and we came back. That was really one trip. Even though we went two places, it was one trip.
So let's talk about the California trip. Is that when you were moving your daughter out to California? When you all went, or did you have two trips to California?
My daughter doesn't live in California.
Did she ever live in California?
I'm not discussing to you the location of my child.
So how many times did you go with Mr. Wade to California?
Once.
And you all stayed in Napa Valley and he paid for the plane tickets and the hotel?
He paid for the plane tickets and the hotel.
And what did you pay for on that trip?
I gave him much less cash that time, probably $400 or $500, and then I paid for a bunch of stuff. I think we did 2 different wine tours that you do, which are pretty expensive. I think I bought him, he likes wine. I don't really like wine, to be honest with you. I like Grey Goose. I bought him a
This chick is the most ghetto. I don't know if the ghetto-ness was intentional in order to throw us off for the reason that she was there in the first place. I don't know how she came to become the Fulton County DA. Maybe this is just an indictment on Georgia in its entirety. Did this chick just say, I don't like wine, I like Grey Goose? Did she just say, I don't like wine, I like Grey Goose? Jesus Christ. I value men. Dealing with these, just because they got a good job don't mean that they a high caliber woman. Just because they got a good job does not mean that they are a higher caliber woman. Man, I'm trying to tell you that this is insane. And y'all the ones that put her in this position in the first place. Good God Almighty. I can't believe what I'm watching right now. I should have just reviewed this video on the Anton Daniels channel for my review video for the day. Jesus Christ.
A bottle of wine while we were there, and the sippings that you do. I can't remember how many, like 4 or 5 different places you go. I remember we went to this place that they do pairings. That was the most expensive thing that I think that we did while we were there. So they would pair champagne, chocolate, and caviar. It was a 3, and it was like 3 different things: Sweden, Russia, someplace else. I'll make that up, but that was the most expensive thing we did that trip, and I paid for that.
You pay cash
for us doing that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that trip did not cost me a lot of money. I might have took like $750 in cash on me because we weren't gone very long.
I'd only asked if you paid in cash. I don't even know the amounts.
When I travel, I always take cash.
And is the cash that you keep in your house, or do you keep it at the condo that you were living in?
So at that point, it wouldn't be at my house, and I'm sorry if I was not clear. The money would be wherever I laid my head. So I wouldn't leave the money at the house.
So you just...
I was unclear. No. The money's going to be where I stay.
How much did you pay for your trip to Panama?
To where?
Panama, I believe.
I didn't go to Panama.
I may have the location wrong.
I never went to Panama.
So
Mr. Wade went to Panama with his frat brother.
Oh, he went to Panama with his frat brothers. So tell me about, let's see. So I want to make sure I've got them. I've got Belize. You already covered Belize. You covered the...
So let me tell you our real trips. In October, we went on the cruise with his mom. We got back from the cruise with his mom, and we went to Aruba. I consider that one trip. Second trip, New Year's Eve, we went on a cruise to the Bahamas. That's the second trip. I want to make sure I get this right. Third trip, 100% on me. I think he might have spent $200 on that entire trip. We went to Belize. That was my trip. That was, his 50th. And then Napa Valley, we went around May. I don't know the dates, but it seems to me like it was close to Mother's Day.
And those are the only trips?
So that the record is complete, I can remember one time driving to, where were we? South Carolina, and we met my sister for lunch with her man.
When was that?
I don't know, but we didn't stay the night there. But I guess people would consider that a trip if you drive somewhere and you come back. That was insane because it was like 5 hours to drive. We ate lunch and we drove right back. I can remember driving to some little town in Georgia. I don't even know where I was. I had never been there before or after. There's some boat you can get on over to, and there's like a slave thing, if that gives anyone any reference. We didn't do that. I remember doing that. I remember driving one time to Charlotte. We had lunch with one of my very close girlfriends, and again, we drove to Charlotte, met my girlfriend for lunch, and drove right back. So that's a trip. We didn't stay the night there, but I just want to be complete in my testimony. We drove someplace, had lunch, drove back.
I agree, Tia.
I don't remember another driving somewhere.
I agree, Miss Bella.
For lunch and coming back to Charlotte to see a girlfriend, to meet my sister in South Carolina. We went by ourselves when I told you about that remote place in Georgia. We could have driven someplace else and had lunch and came back, but that's all that comes to my recollection right now. There could have been another place we drove and had lunch. My security team was very clear to me. I'm not to be out and about in Atlanta without them. And so for me to do something just very normal that a normal person would get to do if they weren't prosecuting this case, I got to drive 4 hours to do it.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Your security detail, did they take you to and from your house?
So I haven't been able to enjoy my home.
Condo, I'm sorry.
And March.
Where you lay your head? Did they take you to and from where you lay your head?
99% of the time.
Would they take Mr. Wade to and from wherever you laid your head?
That has never in the history of ever happened, ever, okay?
Your security team has never.
I think that this is the most ghetto woman that I've ever seen in my life in a position of power. I think that this is the most ghetto woman that I've ever seen in my life in a position of power. This is insane. I'm going to make videos about this for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to discuss this on the Q show next Monday. Wow, 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 wow. I am so floored by what I'm seeing right now. It is nothing short of incredible. Let's stop there. Let's stop there because we're going to slow roast this and we're going to come back to that. But my point that I wanted to emphasize to you guys is that Fani Willis is insane. And I think that the whole state of Georgia outside of the governor's office might be insane also. Crazy, lying. I told y'all that this woman is evil and she need to repent. And then they had the nerve to let this chick stand in the pulpit and preach a sermon.